sometimes when people are reluctant to pay, or if they are trying to steal from us, I bring out my gun and fire a few shots in the air. Then they generally pay.
I really wish you wouldn't do that, Margaret. We're getting all these holes in the ceiling. It's starting to make the roof leak.
Crazy little way with that.
If it's us too.
Once I asked Mr. Woods why he hated Frank so much, and he said that he had a private reason, but it was only because he wanted to be able to buy him out at a cheap price and become the wealthiest landowner in the country.
Last year, Mr. Frank gave me my very own gun to keep, but he made me promise to keep it a secret. I never used it to shoot a man, of course, only ducks and geese.
Dude, pull that away from the wall, please. Okay, Annabelle.
Another time, Daddy saw me visiting Frank. On the way back, he saw me beat my poor horse with a whip. He made me swear never to visit Frank again. That's when I started to hate Daddy. I kept going to visit Frank, but only when Daddy was away on one of his business trips.
Lulu.
I hate my Daddy, I really, really do.
Hey, Sheriff, sit back. We can't see Lulu.
I think Red Eye should be.
You like that, Michelle?
My woman now.
Richard's starting to become a regular.
Oh.
After a few weeks, he demanded that he be my sponsor and that he would have a front row seat. He just loved the way I danced. And he and I would get lots of gifts in return.
Yeah. Stay with me, girl.
Sheriff, I thought you liked me.
Okay, my first run-in with Woods came when I found out that he was telling one of the dancers in town, that would be Miss Lulu Peachy. He was telling Miss Lulu Peachy that she could not sing songs, and I told Richard, that just ain't right. It ain't right. It's not appropriate. You just need to leave that little lady alone. And you know what he told me? He told me to shut up, or he would cut my supplement even more.
Oh. Okay, Red Eye.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a nearby state when I heard through the wind was blowing that way one time. Someone shot a one to hire a gunslinger. Yeah.
I pass.
Dad.
I think you read.
Okay. Okay. Uncle.
Captain stopped coming to town. I didn't get to see her anymore. I've written it in my will, but Annabelle is to receive half of my property when I die. She knows that. Her father didn't, of course. And I made it that she will only get the money after her father is dead, because I didn't want him to take it off her.
Sometimes I dream.
At the end of our first year, I found myself pregnant with Annabelle. I was really happy about it. But Richard became even more jealous than he was to begin with, and he made me go up to my room whenever we had some visitors. Sorry.
I met Lulu soon after she came to town, and I liked her immediately. She is such a fun-loving girl.
Luke.
Excuse me, Luke, are you about to read today?
Once Mr. Woods let out the reason he hated Frank so much. He said that when he was at school, Frank humiliated him in front of the whole class by proving him a cheat.
Luke told me when I saw him at church that he liked Miss Annabelle. I told him to forget her because Mr. Richard would probably never let her marry someone so poor.
Read again.
No, I can't.
Read it again.
I can't.
Yeah, you can.
It said don't not read again.
No, it doesn't.
Luke told me when I saw him at church, he liked Miss Annabelle. I told him forget her because Mr. Richard would probably never let her marry someone so poor.
Thank you.
When I was 14, Daddy gave me a practice to go to school. He told me I couldn't have my whole practice for a month. I cried until my tears came to dry.
Everything was peachy, excuse the pun, for the next 6 months. He would come back to my room after the show and he would give me money or perfume or other gifts. But after that, he turned nasty.
Hey, Clyde.
It was a gruesome sight. I believe I was the first one on the scene. That is, poor Richard. Found him shot to death. I even counted the bullet holes. I believe there's 10. Somebody shot him 10 times. More than you'd shoot a rattlesnake. Whoever killed him wanted to make sure he was dead. There hadn't been any signs of footsteps near the body, or any evidence that I could find.
Kills himself. We got 2 people dead now.
He's got to be shot 10 times, big shirt.
That's good as a 1-foot sheriff.
Let's go, partner.
When I got to town, I found out Frank wanted me to be around just in case they come to arrest one of his black workers.
Can you read that again? Listen.
Yeah. I said, when I got in town, I found out Frank wanted me to be around just in case they come around to arrest one of his black workers.
Unfortunately, Annabelle told me later that he had told her that he would treat her mom very badly if Annabelle did anything wrong with him.
I really like Eddie. I think he's a good kid, really. But sometimes Margaret's not watching because she's outside. I'll spray some candy or two. Just want to make sure she doesn't see. You love candy, don't you?
Who the hell's Eddie?
Dude.
Oh, okay, sorry, Eddie.
does it say that you're supposed to?
Hey, Uncle.
So you don't have any response?
I have number 5. It doesn't say anything I'm supposed to do.
What's your number 5 today?
No, you can't do the sister.
It'll tell him to respond.
Yeah, it says.
It doesn't say respond.
I asked Annabelle what had happened to Kathy, thinking perhaps she was ill. She told me her father had told her mother was never going to leave the ranch again. I heard about Richard giving Annabelle a hard time because she kissed a boy at school. I know you don't I, Miss Piggy? So I had a word in your ear that Annabelle had a heart condition. I lied that my brother, who is the local doctor, had diagnosed it.
I told Mr. Woods that my friend the doctor had said that Annabelle had a delicate heart. Really had been Frank who had told him about this. You hadn't told me that it was a lie, Frank, but it doesn't matter. I would have done anything to stop that man from being so nasty to his woman folk.
Well, Richard wanted more children, but for some reason God didn't answer his prayer. That made Richard even angrier towards me. He told me I was never to leave the ranch, not even to attend church. One time I ran away to visit some friends, but when Richard found out, he was very angry. How I hated that man.
What's Mary?
Go ahead, T.
When I go to town to buy supplies, Miss Reed, the shop owner, is always very kind to me. She gives me candy for free.
When Lulu told me of her dream to be a singer, I offered her singing lessons. I enjoyed it because she loves it so much, and she has a wonderful singing voice. It kind of just ripples on the air.
Mr. Woods would often make remarks about how if he had his way, all the black people would be kept in fetters and made to do animal work. He said they were nothing but animals anyway. I don't know why he had in for the black people. When I heard Mr. Woods say things like that, I was furious.
Mr. Frank told me that if I ever get married, he would let us build a little house down by the dam. He's such a kind man. I like Susie, the young girl who works for the shopkeepers in town. I asked Mr. and Mrs. Reed if we could get married, and they said it would be okay in a year's time if they found a new maid and if Mr. Frank agreed to let Susie work for him as well.
Let's go, Dancer Miss Piggy. Took Daddy aside and told him that not to treat me so badly. She told him that her friend, the doctor, had said I had a delicate heart.
Richard started telling me that I couldn't sing any songs, that I was only to dance. I protested I was wasting my talent by only dancing. But Richard said he would make sure that I got the sack if I didn't put up with it.
What's the sack? Okay, guy.
Having been raised as an Indian, I know what it's like to be hunted like an animal. I know how badly a white man treats other races.
I have nothing more to say at this time.
lonely little girl. Whenever she passed the shop, I'd go out and give her candy. She always gave me a super big smile in return. I was really pleased when Annabelle told me her father had agreed not to hurt her anymore. But she burst into tears because her father said he would beat her mother instead.
Luke was a sweet lad, and I really enjoyed when he worked for us. Richard wouldn't allow me to speak to him or any of the farm workers, but Annabelle used to tell me what he was like, and sometimes Luke would tip his hat if he passed by. When Richard sacked him because he liked Annabelle, I protested, and I said Annabelle would be lucky to marry a man like Luke. Richard got angry. He said he would decide who Annabelle would marry. Act 1, over.
We're right in front.
Act 2, everybody, Act 2, turn your page to Act 2.
Can y'all wait? I gotta kind of go to the restroom.
Go ahead.
Can I read?
Go ahead.
Mr. Frank said he'd be happy for Susie to come work for him and for us to get married. He said his current maid needs to retire anyway. I'm looking forward to next year very much.
Well, that Mr. Woods, he ran up large bills at our shop because of his gifts and his regular supplies. He was a good customer, so I let him run up higher bills than the other customers.
Mr. Wood used to come in and buy gifts like perfume. I learned from Lulu. They were for her, not for his poor wife.
Lulu the Hooch. Hey, Roman.
I was shy and I didn't go to the house very often. But Annabelle followed me on her horse and made conversation with me. She was so nice. She said she didn't want me to be lonely.
I was very upset with Richard Woods because he made me work so hard that I was exhausted at all times. I about wanted to kill him.
When Luke came over to work for us, I was only 16. He was very shy and never came up to the house. Gradually, Luke and I became friends. I was out riding in my spare time and he would ride up to me for a chat. Our horses charged along together like circus ponies. I was hoping my dad would never find out, but then he did. He pulled out all my hair. That's why I have to wear this wig.
Yes, I'm done. Margaret said that I should leave town rather than put up with Richard's treatment. I said I was saving to do so, but I just didn't have enough money yet.
Put that root beer between your legs.
Everything was going relatively smoothly. Just fine, I tell you. Until that dirty, rotten scoundrel Richard accused this poor little Eddie of killing his cattle.
That's it.
Poor little Eddie.
Sheriff, is that third gun in your pants?
Third gun.
Hey y'all, since I've been at Frank's place, I've been treated real well. I was allowed to eat and sleep at the house of Frank, have a good bed and so on. Most of my employers tell me to sleep in the barn with the work animals, so it's been a real nice change.
Mr. Woods and I never seen eye to eye. He thought I was wasting my time by teaching Annabelle mathematics. He thought that because she was a girl, she should only be taught to read, sew, and sing. Okay, sorry.
Uncle.
I'm going after you now.
My dad already did this
The men have always talked to me about all sorts of things. For example, it didn't take me long to find out that Richard was sponsoring the dancer Lulu Peachy, and that he was spending more time with her than with his family.
He was taking time
Eddie
with
came
me
to work
like
for
this.
me a few years back. He has been a good, honest worker. One of my best, in fact. When I heard Richard was accusing Eddie of killing cattle, I went too red with rage, like a rodeo bull.
Is that it?
Well, my parents dropped in one time and they could see how unhappy I really was. My father questioned Richard about it. Richard didn't tell him where I was unhappy, of course. Is it Eddie's turn?
Go ahead, Eddie.
Mr. Frank taught me how to ride like a rodeo. I never go on to Mr. Richard's property. I try to stay as far away from him as possible because I know he's a bad man. His parents were bad and so is he. Yeah, he is.
I know that Mr. Richards got paid for his cattle, but he didn't pay off his large account. I questioned him politely about it, but he just laughed at me.
I loved Annabelle from the first time I met her, but I never jumped that she would love me. But once we became closer friends, she told me that she had also loved me from the moment she met me.
I rubbed my overworked limbs with some Indian herbal remedies, but even so they continue to itch.
Daddy thought Luke was a good worker, but as Luke and I became friends, he came to dislike him. I thought it was jealousy at first, but later I realized it was because he wanted to marry me. Off to someone who's considered suitable.
Mrs. Wood occasionally is allowed to buy a dress. Sometimes maybe even a few other things, but never did she buy anything else than a dress. And she went home and take stuff away from her. She was quite strange for her, even though they were really well.
Margaret told Clyde that Richard was bossing me about, but he couldn't do anything because Richard had him under his thumb too.
Twice.
Now she's looking at Clyde.
I told Richard that he was stupid. Stupid, I tell you. To pick on little Eddie just because he was black. That made Richard angry, and he even tried to hit me. But I thought, that guy, he thought he could do anything. I didn't do anything in return, though. I just told him to get on out of here before I locked him up.
When I first saw Springleaf that day, I didn't recognize her. But it didn't take long for it to dawn on me that she had been my friend when I lived with the Crow Indians.
I think it's important for women to enlighten their minds with quality literature and to keep it sharp or learn algebra and so forth. In this way, they become far more interesting company to have around.
I heard that Richard had been bossing Lulu about it, and I mentioned it to Clyde. He came in for his hair.
Boy, I'll tell you what, the barber sure is interested in Lulu. That's all he seems to talk about.
I told Clyde that Richard was blaming the wrong man, but I sensed that Clyde wouldn't have the guts to stand up to Richard. Clyde was too big and docile for that.
After a few years, I got used to never going out. Richard spent more time in town watching the dancers, that little Miss Lulu, Peachy. I was relieved to have him out of my hair, really I was. But I still don't like that Miss Lulu.
Mom. I was shocked when word spread that Mr. Richard was accusing me of killing his cattle. It must have been some people passing through town. I didn't do it. Swear to God in heaven.
When I questioned that Mr. Woods a few weeks later, he said very rudely I could go to the far paddock and shout at the fence post for all he cared.
When I told Mr. Woods that I would like permission to marry his daughter, he spat at me and said his daughter deserved more than a dung-smelling farmhand. He told me to leave and to never see Annabelle again. When I said goodbye to Annabelle, she was crying and told me she would find a way to run away and be with me.
When I heard what Mr. Woods planned to do to Eddie, it gave my heart great sadness.
Eventually we brought up the junction to ask Daddy if he could marry me. Daddy was furious and told Luke he was nothing but a farmhand and thought he deserved better. He really upset me.
Richard boasted about having the sheriff under his control, and he gave me even more grief because he thought I told him.
I told Richard I would give up my supplement rather than arrest Eddie for a crime he didn't commit. Richard said to me I better reconsider, or he would arrange with the authorities in Washington to make sure I lost my job. And he said he had enough connections in high places to make it happen.
Springleaf told me that her parents and my adopted parents had been killed by Mr. Woods' parents, and that she'd been captured and then made to work as a maid since she was only 10 years old.
I told Annabelle that it was far more important to marry a man with a sensitive heart than to marry a man of profession.